listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Why did I write the book? That's a very good question. And it was strictly out of a sense of purpose. My self-purpose. I didn't write it to be on any kind of a campaign or any kind of tilted windmills or in with the case of the racism that I mentioned in the book. I wasn't trying to be Abraham Lincoln here. I was just wanting to say real time what happened to an 11 and 12-year-old kid when I moved to Jacksonville, Florida, and I did it for a sense of my purpose. The guy who was the inspiration to me for this was a man named Frank Crescido. He was an Italian guy from Brooklyn. He was a writer, a poet, an author, a Renaissance man. And one day, we talked a lot. We were very close. And he told me one day, he said, "Dick, what's your purpose in life?" I said, "Well, what do you mean, Frank? You know who I am. You know what I've done, what I haven't done." And that. He said, No. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what is your purpose in life. And I honest with him, and with you, I couldn't answer the question. Not now that I understand it, what it was. I didn't understand it then. Okay, I didn't. And he said, all right. So he said, you got to stop sleepwalking. You're sleepwalking through life. You're going through it. You have all these experiences. But what is your purpose? What are you getting out of this? Who are you? And I couldn't answer. So, but it spurred me on to try and get an answer to that. I started writing my cogitations, things I thought about every day. And if something that popped in my head, I write it down. And a lot of it was nonsense, okay? It was. Some of it was pretty good. Some of it was nonsense. And then I started writing poetry. Well, I wrote rhymes. I didn't write poetry, okay? Poets only write poetry. But then I started to write The Mullet Man. I was 79 at the time and never had done anything like this before. Never had done it. And so I started writing it. 2.5 years later, I get the manuscript finished. All right. I bring it on over to Frank to read it because I'm sitting right on the edge here. I want he was the guy, the mentor. I wanted him to tell me what he thought it was. If it was good, bad, or ugly, I didn't care. Well, I did care, but anyway. He told me, he said, and I'll never forget this, he comes out very slowly, has the manuscript. We're sitting down at the table, and he looks at me, and he said, I'm just waiting on pins and needles here, He said, "Dick," he says, "it's a treasure of sorts." Now, why I tell you this story is I wasn't going to publish the manuscript. I wasn't going to do that. I didn't publish any of my poetry, my cogitations, or anything. I just wanted to do it, said I did it, I wrote it, and he said, "You have to publish this." He says, "It's provocative, but you're going to have to publish it." He encouraged me that. Well, I said, "Yeah, okay, Frank." And so I took the manuscript and I had it edited. And one of the editors, guy I got to know fairly well, he told me, he said, "Dick, you got to publish this book." He says it's provocative, just like Frank. He said, "You have to publish this book. This is something worthwhile to send out as a message for someone who can understand real time your experience when we first moved down to Jacksonville, Florida in 1955, when I was 11 years old. Got down here when I was down there for about 2 months when I turned 12 years old. Well, I was 11 when we first got down there. But that's what the book is. Now, the message, that's an interesting thing. I'll be very, very frank with you and honest with you. This is my first time writing something like this, okay? One of the editors asked me, he said, well, Dick, what's your writing style? Shemaiah, I had no idea what he was talking about. What do you mean my writing style? I just put this stuff down. I wrote it down as I lived it. So I didn't have any style about it. And he said, well, he had mentioned to me, he said, each chapter has a message. And some of the chapters, the broad themes of the book, deal with racism, poverty, friendship, fishing, but there's the sub-themes in it. I didn't realize, I'll be honest with you, I don't take any credit for this because I didn't realize it. There's sub-themes in it, and it's about learning. More importantly, it's about listening. Frank said to me, he said, do you want to be a better person? You got to learn how to be a better person, a better human. I never thought of that in my life. Never even thought about that. So I looked around and said, purpose is primary. If you want to be a better person, a better human, you got to have some kind of purpose and a consciousness. You got to have a consciousness. And then you have, empathy and, creativity and all that. But the two most important things are your purpose and your consciousness to be a better person. And I'm thinking about this. And Frank says to me one day, he says, to do this, you're going to have to listen to this. This was cool. He said, Dick, to learn this, you have to learn how to listen. He says, no one knows how to listen today. Really listen. You hear. I'm sure you've heard this before. You hear, but you're not listening. And you're not being selective in what you listen to. You ain't filtering out what you should be filtering out. And I thought about this. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized he was right. I was sleepwalking through life. Just going through life, not pursuing the things I should be pursuing because I wasn't listening. And I come up with this idea I had. I call it the nonsense of the noise. Maybe so, nothing I'm saying here hasn't been thought of, done, written about, or anything. But this is how my take on it. And I called it the nonsense of the noise. How we're always sitting there. You get up in the morning and you're bombarded with the gossip, the nonsense, the BS, all the crap that is going on that is really non-productive. And it damn sure doesn't make you listen to sense your purpose to become a better person. It just helps you sleepwalk more through life. You get up, you talk about, what did that guy at sports, you take for instance, he's a bad, and it goes on and on and on, and it's nonsense. There's no legitimate conversation that is going on because, Shania, I'm not sure we're capable of that anymore in this society. I'm just not. You turn on the TV and you listen to people who are supposed to know all this stuff, supposed to have wisdom and everything. They're yelling and screaming at each other and calling them names and making jerks out of each other. Conversation is, I don't know. We damn sure can improve it. And I'm trying to listen more and trying to, when someone says something, my mind used to go like a Rolodex, a word, pop it up, and there it was. And then you do a mind dump on what you know. No. Just.
Once again, listen, I Am Refocused Radio, watching us online today, talking to our guest today, R.W. Fields. We're talking about his book, The Mullet Man. And I want you to continue, but I also want to talk about you on the other side of the creek. I want you to kind of illustrate that storytelling of that visual in that time, because I believe that really sets the foundation of the book as well.
Okay, thank you, man. Go ahead. Are we on?
Yeah. I'm saying, tell us about the creek.
All right. Richie goes down there, and he's sort of nervous about going down to a place he's never been before, right? And but he loves fishing. Absolutely loves fishing. And this is me, okay? And I meet a friend down there, and we make a friend, and we go fishing at this place called Fishing Creek, of all places, you fitted. And we go down there, and we're fishing one day, and I look across the creek, and there's this, I hope you don't, this colored man. I'm speaking real time now. And in real time, it wasn't a colored man. What was said. Okay, I want your audience to understand that. And I'm looking across there, and there's this old colored man by himself. He's crouched down. He's fishing just like us. And I asked my buddy Freddie, I said, Freddie, what's that guy doing over there? And he says, he's fishing. I said, what's his name? He says, the locals call him the Mullet Man. They call him a lot of other things, too. And that's what you got to understand. A lot of other things. Even the coloreds called him other things, all right? So I'm sitting there, and the fish start coming. You can see them. They're jumping out of the water, the mullet. Oh, beautiful sight. He starts catching one right after another. I don't mean just little ones like he was catching big ones. And I'm sitting there, and I'm saying, how? And Freddie says to me, now you know why they call him the Mullet Man. So I said, well, why don't we go over there? He says, you kidding me? Why do we want to go over there and fish with that crazy guy? There's snakes and swamp and everything over there. Where we were fishing, you could walk down there, put out a chair. It was easy to get to, and that's important to understand. It was easy. Mentally and physically easy it was to be on that side of the creek. Okay, that's important. It's important because in life today, there's things that we are mentally and physically lazy doing, and that doesn't help you develop who you are, and it darn sure does help you in look how what other people are. And Richie just one day says, I'm going to go on the other side of the creek. Best decision he ever made. Best decision you ever made. Yeah, he had to go through the swamp and had to, the snakes and all that other stuff he had to do. But he gets there, and fortunately, he gets to meet the Mullet Man. And their first meeting is very interesting. The Mullet Man gets there. Richie doesn't hear him. Then he turns around. There he is. And there's this Mullet Man looking at him, right? The man himself. Big long knife on his sheath and his thing, oiled boots, bib overalls, white shirt, his sleeves are cut off, and just look at him, looking right through him. And he says, what are you doing here, son? And Richie says to him, he says, dude, I figured about, he said, I'll tell you the truth. I came on over here to catch big mullet just like you do. And that set the tone. Because what did the Mullet Man know? Man knew that this little skinny white kid had enough courage, whatever it was, to come on over there and fish on that side of the creek with this crazy old colored man. And that he could learn. He could listen and he could learn. And that is, from there on out, goes through the book. Characters in the book teach each other how to listen and how to learn. There's one chapter in the book. It's chapter 11, I think it is. And the chapter, again, is real time. And I don't want to offend some of your audience, but when I was writing the book, I wrote it real time. And if I didn't write it real time, I wouldn't have written a book. I wouldn't have written it because it wouldn't have been right. It wouldn't have been me. It wouldn't have been right for the time. It wouldn't have been right for the story. So I use the words I use in a book are provocative. They're what was said in those days. So there's this one chapter, And it's about when my dad, who, if you heard him talk at times, you would say he was a racist. Okay? He said what was on his mind about people and would call them that right to their face. That's a different era back in those days. And I knew what he said and at times. And when I went down there, and this is something your audience is going to, when I went down there, I had no idea about Southern culture. Nothing. I had come from Rhode Island and California, nothing about Southern culture and what was going on down there. So when I was down there and experienced it, it was a shock. But let me tell you something. You soon got over the shock. And before you know it, you were part of the culture. I wasn't indoctrinated like the other kids that I knew of. They were indoctrinated from when they were born. So we're driving around down the road one day, and my dad sees this black woman, big black woman in a white shirt, dress on and that, trying to fix a flat tire on an old pickup truck. I'll never forget this. He's going down the road. No one had stopped. He goes down, he pulls off the road about, 20 yards in front of her or something like that. And I'm looking at him, I said, what's going on here? Okay, so my dad gets out of the truck, starts walking towards her. And the woman stands up. She has a lug wrench in her hand, okay? And you can know what's going through her mind. Now, what's this big black guy, a white guy, coming on over here to have to do with me, right? And I'm walking by the side of the truck. I'm going with my dad. And I'm wondering the same thing. And he gets a little bit from her and he says, "Can I help you?" And she looks at him, doesn't say anything. He says, "Can I help you?" And she says, "I'm trying to get my tire off. The lugs must be thin." "Yes, you can help me." She walks towards him. She hands him the lug wrench. Now think about this. You're 1955. Okay. My dad goes on over. Within 5 minutes, he's sweating. Just dripping wet. It was so hot down there. And she was the same thing. You could see her skin through her white dress. You can see it. And I'm watching this. And he gets done, puts the thing away, gets it all done, and he gets up and he says, "Thank you." She says, "Well, thank you." And my dad says, "Well, you're welcome." Then she does something that's important. She reaches in her pocketbook and she gets out a dollar bill. And she goes over and gives the dollar bill to my dad. And my dad says to her, "I wanted to help you. Just help you." And he wouldn't take the money. So we say goodbye. We get in our car. And as we're leaving, I look back at her. She's standing right next to her truck with the dollar bill in her still hand, looking and thinking about just went on. And we're going down the road. And I'm looking at my father. I said, "What was that all about? Why did you stop to help that?" And he said, she was a good colored woman. You never said black in those days. That wasn't part of the deal. Or African American. She was a good colored woman. Then we go back a little bit farther, and I said, "Well, how do you know? What made you say that?" It says, "She was out there fixing the tire by herself. She didn't want anyone to help her, especially some white guy coming on down the road to help her. And when I got done, she thanked me. She wasn't, she offered me $1, which was a lot of money in those days. You wouldn't understand it. That's a lot of money." And he said, "You would want someone to stop and help your mom if she had a flat tire, wouldn't you?" And I said, yeah. Well, that's why you do it. That's why you do it. It's the right thing to do. And so that's one of the chapters. But there's there's others in the chapters about poverty that are very, very similar to that, and others about race, and then others about friendship and fishing. But throughout the book, and Shamia, I'm telling you, I didn't understand this when I was doing it. There's a message there about the importance of listening, learning, because if you don't listen and learn, you can't grow as a person. If you can't grow as a person, how are you ever going to grow to understand other people? You can't. You're sleepwalking. You're all tied up in your own nonsense. Oh, nonsense of the noise. But it's been a fantastic experience for me to relay this message to folks such as yourself, people such as yourself, and putting it on the radio or on a podcast or wherever you run this thing at. And that's been the great thing about it.
Once again, listen to I Am Refocused Radio. You've been listening to us and watching us online, talking to our guest today, R.W. Fields, and all about his book that you can get. It's available right now, The Mullet Man. We are about 5 minutes away for this interview, but I want to give it right back to you and ask this final question real quick, and that is, when you look at and reflect your book in the writing process and how it's already made a positive impact in the reader community, what is one thing you think about in today's time, and why is it so difficult for people to have honest conversations about race?
Well, yeah, for one thing, race has become an issue that always has a political component. It's a political issue that always has some kind of a racial component. If you have your mind made up, if you know I want a person to talk with, I want to talk with a person who, when you talk to him, he says, I really don't know. They're receptive. How many of us are like that anymore? You can talk with a person who says, well, I think I know. That's problematic. They got room to learn. But when you deal with someone that says, I know, forget about it. You're not going to talk with them. And that's how many of us are today. We're too goddamn, we're too full of ourselves. We think we got all the answers. We don't even know half the questions, never mind the answers. We got something in our mind that's made up, and and if you're like that, you can't help that. You want to find someone who says, I don't know, or I think I know, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to listen, to learn, to grow as a person, and me growing as a person is going to allow me to understand where you're coming from. We don't do that. As soon as someone starts opening up their mouth, the Rolodex goes to a certain thing, bang, and that's how you respond. That's how you immediately respond. I don't think you can get anywhere like that. That's just me. I can't defend this or support it with anything like that. It's just my observation. And it's all because of the nonsense of the noise. It takes away from your humanity. It takes away from your humanity, your purpose and your consciousness. That's about where it's at. I hope the book helps. If it helps, it has helped people. My book is a success. I know it's a success. It's helped people. They've told me that. You can't imagine what that feels like. Having an impact on someone like that. And that's it. I'm glad I wrote. Have you ever read the book?
I have a copy, so I have it.
Oh my God, good. I was in a conversation with a guy last night who's read it 3 or 4 times. And he said, I'm R.W. Fields, that's my pen name, but they call me Dick. And he said, Dick, he says, I had to go back and read it again. I had to go back and read the chapters again. He said, there's a lot of things in there I missed the first time. He said, you're clever. I said, no, I'm not. I was lucky. I said, I got to give that's my subconscious. And that's what Frank Crescido, my mentor, put into my head. And that's why I wrote it. I wish I could claim that I had this ability, but I just subconsciously, that's what came out. And I'm happy. I'm proud of it. I'm happy, and I can go on. I hope other people read it and understand it. That's it. All right, man.
You've been listening to Refocused Radio and watching us online and talking to our guest today. Get a copy of his book. It's real simple to find. It's Mullet Man, The Mullet Man. You can get a copy right now. And like always, want to say to you, R.W. Fields, thank you for not just being on the show and sharing your wisdom, but also giving us deeper insight on why you wrote the book. So with that, I want to say to you, thank you for your time.
Thank you, my man. Thank you for your listeners. I can't appreciate the opportunity. So I love it. Take care of yourself.